I think we're Jewish. His you can do it. That Quintian is a new house. It was that day when it was kind of fast coming lunch, right? Twins, deportation. We can hide them.
Ingenious. That's it.
Sorry.
Welcome to another episode of Breaking into Cybersecurity. Today we have Philippe Humeau, who is joining us from the French side of cybersecurity, but we will be speaking in English. So Philippe, tell us a little bit about yourself before you got into cyber and then what got you into cyber.
Yeah, so before cyber, well, it's an interesting time. It's a long time for most of your listeners. We are speaking about the famous 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And I'm a gamer already. By 10, being 10, we have this crazy graphic with 4 to 16 colors, depending on the budget. And we crack games. So we have no money because we're kids. And we exchange games and we have to find a way to bypass protection because we wouldn't be able to afford them. But we were avidly devouring them. So I tried to switch discs with my friends. And it teaches me how to, edit hexadecimals and move things around and copy disk and optimize the BIOS, the setup, the memory and stuff. So this is more or less where I started. And also my English was probably extremely nothing back then. And it's not any better now, but let's say it was worse. And, I used to try to break into, to pass, the introduction scene of laser circularity. So for the people that don't know what this is a game which was a bit naughty, but come on, with 8-bit pixel, nothing really serious. But, being kids under hormones, we wanted to bypass the first screen and they asked question about like whether you're an adult or not. And it was slangish American. So this is where also I started to learn English and more precisely American.
So as you grew and you grew into working age, did you go directly into computers or what was your path that got you from gamer into someone focused on IT, computers, and then going into cyber?
Yes. Even though it sounds impossible to meet nowadays, but back in the days, it was not something. It was not even an official work or job. There was no job description. There was nothing like programmers or whatever, university grade things. So I was like, okay, can I make money out of it? We're not sure. My parents are like, you're good at it. Try it. I mean, it's okay. We'll help you for your studies. And let's dig into this and see where it leads. And I arrived in this Parisian school because I'm originally from the countryside. So I arrived in this Parisian school, and instead of being a decent programmer, because in between this gaming phase and this now moment, I learned my trade, and I'm just the worst of them. I thought I was, but no, I was just the worst of them all. I never had to compare myself to anyone before, and then all of a sudden I'm in a big city. People know better than I do, and all of us are lost anyway because we are on Unix systems that we have never seen before. We didn't even know it existed in the first place. And I meet this guy, and you remember when I was playing cracked games on PC? Well, my friends and Atari machines, someone was cracking those games, right? And I met him at school. I was like, "You're him, right?" He's like, "Yeah, but you're my age." Yeah. So basically, when you were cracking games, you were already my age. Yeah. No time travel, bro. All right. So when I was playing and I was 11, you were cracking the games already when you were 11. Yes. Teach me cybersecurity. Teach me what you do. I want to know more. Get me down to the freaking, I need to know what there's inside. And that's how I started to fall in love with cybersecurity.
And so that's I guess the hacking part. What was some of your first paid role as you grew into your career?
the school was very open-minded regarding, what we could or could not do. And basically there were absolutely no low framework around what we could not do. So I wanted to do a red team pen test, and which I did for a decade or so. I created my company right at the gate of the school. So, and they helped me in this by letting me be an entrepreneur. So it's obvious for you guys in America, but in France, we don't have exactly the same mindset. So thanks to the school for that. And I became an entrepreneur just right after school, and I started to red team pen testing. It was exceedingly fun because basically people would have pretty much no clue how to configure a firewall in the first place. But sometimes it was inside out. So like they would block everyone from inside and let everything from the outside. True story. But, and sometimes it was harder and funnier actually. But yeah, this is a service business. So you basically have to hunt for your food every day. You don't have any assured meal at the end of the week. So you have to find new clients and so on. So we wanted to have some recurring revenues, and I created a business unit in my company about hosting. And then it became high security hosting in 2014 when we had our first, glimpse of how we could do it better actually.
And how do you define for those that are coming into the industry, what's considered high security hosting versus not?
Yes. If you pop a machine on the cloud or on any environment, a virtual machine, it's pretty much prepackaged for you. So I wouldn't say the defaults are horrible, but they are not high-end either. If you want to make some tailor-made security, you would have to detect what attack you're getting inbound, right? Ingress, and see what is dangerous, what is not. So you would have to have a pretty tight firewall, not a default one, not exposing anything over the internet that doesn't need to be exposed. Like you would probably receive, web traffic, 80.443. So the two port that is delivering HTTP and HTTPS, but the rest doesn't need to be accessible from the rest of the world. So what do you want here? You want a VPN, probably something like WireGuard or Tailscale, and you would be protected from external eavesdropping on your communications. And you want to be sure that your PHP stack is properly configured so that code execution that would lead to dramatic outcomes or secret injection or stuff like that. So all of a sudden you start to have the need for a RASP, so something to protect the code execution stack. And you need to have a WAF to filter out some bad requests like web application firewalls. Everything that is sketchy, you would ditch them. And you also have to have something that would, avoid brute forcing, for example, of credential. All of these compound together, and you then realize that you need a secure machine, and not only one. You need to make them work all together so that if one is aggressed, the other one are made aware of that, and this IP address is blocked. So basically, defaults are pretty correct nowadays. Specifically, if you update your machine regularly and you connect to them using cryptographic keys, it's unlikely you are at immediate risk of death. Now, you still need to do an extra legwork to make them secure. But it could be nowadays packaged and automatically deployed. This is the beauty of it.
So would you say that those are additional services that otherwise you'd have to pay extra for somewhere else because of how you provide hosting for your clients?
Back then, there were few tools already, and they were fully automated, if at all. And they were absolutely not concentrated. Like nowadays, everybody put everything in the same log pit or more or less. You have Elasticsearch or Kibana or Splunk doing this for you. So, and you can even do it manually with open source tools. There's no problem, But back then, it was not even obvious. So, and then once you have everything concentrated in the same place, what would you do? You need to look into those logs. It's not like cold storage saying, hey, this happened in the past. You want to be a reactive on it. So if someone is scanning you, you would ban this IP address on the fly and not let them scan you and brute force you and breach into your website and then have, this log to serve as a memory. And it's like body counting, This is the difference in between body counting after the fact and preemptively blocking them, like you have a Kevlar vest and you ditch the bullet in the first place. And so cold logs are not extremely useful except for legal purposes. But if you pass them on the fly, then you can make something out of it. If you detect attack on the fly, then you can be better protected. So back then there were few automations few open source products, and we had to stitch all of this together by ourselves and develop the missing links and the missing bricks to make it properly secure.
So for those coming into the industry today, oftentimes there's the misnomer that like being a pen tester should be like one of your first roles, that or SOC analyst. I mean, it feels like there's so many roles in between. How do you even teach the newcomers, the juniors into the industry that being a red teamer, being a pen tester, you need to have a solid understanding of the environment, both what could happen if you get it or what could stop it on the other side? How do you teach them those bounds to have a respect for the code that they're executing on?
If you're a red team pen tester, you have to understand what's happening at the level of interpretation of the mission, of the execution of the code, of the processor, of the memory. So depending, it's a range of this. You could be exploiting just surface exploits, or being very good at industrializing them, or at doing phishing or whatever. And you do need to understand really deep down how it works. But the best one, usually the one we refer to, are the one that understand how to code in C, how to interpret the languages, what are the memory allocation, and how to bust them. They are the one pulling the biggest tricks, like those zero clicks exploits on phones and stuff, all rely on that. Now, the only way, no, it taught me a lot, and that's a crazy good school, definitely. But it's not the only way in the market. And I got an example here, because we were really good at cracking things and getting into any system, right? And it's a mindset. And I will get to a good story about this mindset of a hacker. But we were just breaking things, We had no clue about running a network and make it stable and making it enjoyable for users and things like this. We had no clue about procedures and stuff like that. We were just here to find the weakest link and break it, and we were good at that. Nowadays, you need to be organized. You need to have a structure. You need to have procedures. You need to understand what are the collateral effects of any decision you will take. And honestly, the red team pen tester are fully equipped to make this kind of decisions or this kind of forecasting. Now, they can learn it because they understand the technique, and this technique will always serve their purpose, whatever they do. If they do marketing, if they do sales, if they keep to be hardcore technicians, it will always be good for their career. But what I mean is it's not the only path. Now, the difference in between being able to deliver a constant and consistent service to users that is fairly secure and still allow businesses to run, and a hacker is the way to think. And I'm going to give you an example. My CTO, Thibault, is the proper example of someone that thinks differently. He's a CTO now, he's older, he's not anymore a red team pen tester. The mindset is something stupidly different. They were one day in an hotel, right? And he tells the guy he's working with, like, drop your laptop, drop your connected watch, drop your phone. Do you have anything electronic on you? No. Okay, we're going to hack the hotel. Sorry, what? But how? Well, with a TV remote. Let me show you. So it goes on the TV and it turns on the VOD channel and it goes into the search bar and starts to do secure injections. And guess what? He found some. Took time because they had no keyboard, but he found some. So they mapped all the porn movies on Disney movies, thinking that if someone asked for pornographic movies and they get instead White Snow, they would not go and complain in the front desk, and that would stay forever. This is the mindset of a hacker at its best. It's not about the way, it's about the outcome. And if you can circumvent the problem, no matter how, this is the hacker's mentality. Whereas a blue teamer, whereas someone that is defending is like, okay, my system have to be kept up and running, clean and proper, and as tight as possible. And all of this is a constant arbitration and balance. So I would say it's different skill sets.
And there's even beyond that. There's the manager, the leader that focuses on organizing the red team, the blue team, combining them together, seeing how the skills overlap. As you're working to, say, develop the talent within your company, within the local economy, what are some of the ways that you found to identify the skills and competencies that they didn't know they had, and to bring it out in them to show how they could be good in a role?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think one of the early detection of those talents in the red team would be they are playful. They are always playful. They are fun. They are playful. They look around. They are tricky. They have humor sense usually. There is something about them that cannot stand off being contained or being in a routine job. They just not fit in the mold. Whereas I would give the keys to the blue team guys when they are thinking about the plan and the outcome. When they ask you first, what do you want to achieve? They are blue teamers because they think about the plan, where to go, how, what are the steps, what is my budget, what are my resources? They will ask all of this. Red teamers, they won't. They don't care. I mean, give me a target. Let's meet in 48 hours, right? And eventually, I'm either a braggart or I will be ready. And yeah, it's the talent here is to detect your right and to direct them in the proper branching, because so many of those talents are lost. Because if you take someone that is extremely creative and you constrain them in a routine daily job, they will just die out of it, and they will never develop. And on the other hand, if you take someone that lacks structure and you send them in this red ocean, like, hey, let's try something, really crash, we don't care, you will lose them. I mean, it will be scary for them. So you have a huge role as a mentor, as an HR person, to make the proper assessment and the proper decision cycle around these carriers when they have a doubt. Sometimes they don't have any doubts, or if they are in the wrong place, you should detect them, because you are at risk of losing talent because you're just not using them properly.
Now, I have an interesting question for you, because I know you're core red team, and today there's a lot of automation. There's a lot of automation that is learning on the past skills of red teamers and then now trying to automate it. How far do you think red team automation has come? And I hate to use the word AI, but as close to being almost self-thinking to where it could find those vulnerabilities and exploit it? Or is it still more of an if then try all these things approach?
No, I think you're right. I mean, and like you, I have to be extremely careful when I use the AI word, because there's just so much confusion around this. I was entertained by all the big outlets in the market. But the reality is there are often that are being trained as we speak. The first, and it's kind of official. So if you look, for example, Project Zero from Google, they have a project that it was Big Nap or something like that. And they automated the detection of a vulnerability, which is an underflow in SQL. It's not MySQL, it's another one. And they found one. And it's really the AI, a DeepMind spin-off, found by itself a vulnerability, an underflow in this massively used software. And it's not like if it futuristic, whatever, they did it already. So now what's next is, where are the real limits? And I think closer than what we would like them to be. Like, we have a strong conviction that what we call MOI internally, so it's not an official name, we make it official, it's multimodal offensive AIs, are in the making. So the LLM part of it and the mimicking of videos, sound-based pictures and writing automated images and so on, it's already done and done. It's not a problem. It's already in production. It's not like if it's futuristic, it's already there. The thing is, we need a coordination here. If you say to your offensive AI, hey, attack, say, Siemens, you need your offensive AI to track all the employees, to list them, to list all their LinkedIn account, their Pinterest account, their Facebook account, their whatever account, whatever is trending nowadays, and check their intentions. Are they financially distressed? Are they holding a grudge against their company? And these are the ones your AI will forge an email toward and say, hey, if I pay you half a Bitcoin, would you send me your credential? You know, maybe you're financially distressed, or maybe you're the grudge, or maybe you're someone extremely scared, and it's visible by the LLMs. It's sensitive to analysis, it can be perceived by the LLM. And then if you're the secretary of this big shot, he will send you a sound bit of a distressed CEO. It's not like the next door presidential blah, blah, blah attack. It's extremely credible because it's based on your voice. And it sounds exactly like you. And it's delivered through the channel you used to have a conversation with your boss. So this is for the human part of it. But I would say it's more or less already in production. So the damage are on the way. The thing that is being created as we speak now, and we see this, is those AI can learn from CTF logs, so capture the flag logs. So where white hats are training their skills, honing their skills against each other by capturing machines as fast as they can. So those logs are gold, are pure gold to learn from. Add to this a mix of CV database, academic papers, and so on. And yeah, obviously you have an extremely proficient offensive AI. And yes, it's really AI. It's not a stateful machine or what. And we see it also in the way that some attacks are weird. If we look back in the days, Christophe, remember the classical scanners, like vulnerability scanners, right? They would tend to check quickly what's your environment. Okay, it's Apache, it's MySQL, it's PHP. Okay, it's a classical LAMP stack. Then I'll try those kind of fingerprinting. Okay, this tag, then I'll try these kind of CVs. And the walkthrough is pretty linear, actually. And those are classical scanners, and you can see them all over your logs, and super easy to detect them. Now, AIs, humans are better than that. So they make the same moves, chess, if we compare it to chess, instead of making 20 moves before beating you, humans will probably make 12, right? Because they take shortcuts, because they know exactly what they're looking for. So when they hit like 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, the 6th time is the right one. But when we see AI at work, it's like 4 or 5 times. The number of moves they are doing is much shorter. They narrow down to the exact point where it could be sensitive far more quickly than anything else before. So no, it's happening. It's coming now. I mean, next year, 6 months, a year, 2 years, I don't know. The only thing we know is it's extremely costly to train them. So for now, it's still government grade or very large group grade tools. But what I expect is that the cyber criminals will make exactly what they did with ransomware as a service. They'll do more as a service. They run their AI once it's trained already, exactly like in the ransomware rental model.
So there's a lot of training data on red team attacks, but I feel like there's not enough on blue team attack, or blue team ways to structure the environment, because every environment is unique. Every environment has these business requirements, these people needs, and it becomes harder to then use machine learning or LLM to fully secure these environments. Like with infrastructure as a code and everything as a code, it becomes a little bit easier, but there's still that line that you can't just say fully secure it with a machine as you could attack it with a machine. How do we close that gap?
Yeah, and there's even one more benefit for the attacker compared to the defender. It's that you don't care about hallucinations when you're attacking, right? What will happen? Your attack will fail. This is the biggest problem you will face. Yeah. So hallucination asymmetrically plays in favor of the offender, not the defender, because the defender cannot be wrong. The offender only has to be right one time. So this is always the same paradox, but it's amplified also by using AIs. So the way we take the problem is the following. I mean, at least at CrowdSec, where I work, is AI don't have legs. They don't have physical bodies. They cannot move close to your premises to hack you. So basically, we can take for granted that, at least for now, they will have to route their attacks through the internet, meaning they will have to use public IP addresses. There's no way around it. So if you can identify, like with the cohort of public IP addresses that are under the custody of cyber criminals, all their MOIs, all their experts or whatever, then you diffuse the vector, not the payload. You can still diffuse the payload, and it's a good thing to do, don't get me wrong. But the most efficient approach to this problem of scale and speed is to diffuse the rocket, not the payload. Because if you can say, hey, I know this IP address already, it's dangerous and you should block it at the gate, you are dropping the connection on the firewall level at level 3. So basically it has zero impact on layer 7 applicative level, which is far more costly. Because saying no at the network level costs you basically literally one packet. Whereas saying no or finding too late that you should have said no in the past would cost you potentially megabytes of traffic to compute beforehand with CPU and RAM, database. So my personal take here is that you have to be able to identify what are the resources, where is the map of IPs used by cybercriminals to block them. Obviously, there are other approaches like read your emails, see if they come in a certain timing from a certain origin, blah, blah, blah. If they're trying to mimic something, this is an entirely different spectrum, but AI here is also useful.
So now getting the human back in the loop and using AI to augment their skills, their human ingenuity, how do we train up the next generation to not let AI do all the work for them, but let AI enhance their skills and capabilities and not get lazy in thinking that everything it does is right and you don't need to think through the problem, but you can use it to help enable and augment your skills, not to necessarily replace.
Yeah, this is what scares me at night. My wife is a teacher, and she's teaching higher grades, and stuff. And she's correcting ChatGPT data. I mean, all the work they're giving back is ChatGPT based. So she got back to the school saying, hey, there's no sense in me correcting ChatGPT, right? I want my student to make their own assessment and answer my questions. So what's your stance on that?
I do the same thing. I was just teaching an enterprise risk management course, and like everything is bullet pointed, everything is numbered. Everything starts in an evolving age with digital technology, and you're like, that is the first line from a GPT if I've seen it every single day. And it's like, people like use it to maybe give you an idea and then you research it, but the students are like just like defaulting to letting it do it for them, but they still need to be creative and think through the problems. How do we teach that to them?
This is the added value. This is what I call consanguinity, or in English, that's another name, when inbreeding, right?
Inbreeding.
Yeah. So it's inbreeding because when you are teaching an AI something and it's feeding it back to you, you lower the level of expertise, the number of details, you only get the majority voice. And basically now AI are feeding AI on top of it, even worse. So yeah, I think what makes us unique in this is being creative. And what I described during the talk is exactly what an AI can't. It cannot be creative. It's really not good at improvising. It's really not good at reasoning, at least for now. And even though it would become eventually good at that, it doesn't mean that humans don't need to be good at that, because what defines you and what makes you unique is not the tool you're using, it's the way you're using it. And we are all using the same tool. So, if you want to stand out, if you want to have any value in your life, in your work life, toward a company or toward yourself or toward your family or toward society, whatever is your goal in life, you will have to be able to put your own footprint, put your own signature move on those tools. And then you will become unstoppable because they will be amplifying what you're good at, not making you good at something that you're not. And I think acquiring new skills or narrowing down closer or faster to the solution or treating huge cohorts of data to extract sense out of it because you're the one asking the question, but it is the one crunching the massive data, is the right way of doing it, at least for now. Because I don't know what's tomorrow. And, I've never seen a moment in our lifetime where the future is so blurry and impossible to predict. Because if some altman is not telling us bullshit, there would be a GI within a year or two. And it's a burst.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, at the pace that AI is evolving, it's gotten past Moore's law. So it's not even every 6 months; it's every 4 months. And then on top of that, like you mentioned the multimodal, but then also really means you're creating AI agents to be able to step off each other or do multi-steps all at the same time and go super fast. Yeah, I do think it's gonna come soon. But we're getting to the end of the show. What last words would you want to give both to companies out there as well as the next generation of cybersecurity professionals?
I think that the approach of collaboration is more important than ever. So obviously, I'm advocating for what we're doing. The crowd is dealing with the problem that we are expressing today. But look at what we've solved lately by collaborating instead of siloing or instead of going for the brute force way. COVID crisis, right? In 1 year, we had a vaccine because all of the universities, all of the professors, all of the PhD grade and all researchers across the world collaborated together. Yes, obviously, like 2 main laboratories provided the vaccines for everyone, but this is the sum of the research of so many people. We pictured a black hole, for God's sake, something that is by definition nearly invisible. Okay, there is an accretion disk and so on. I'm not going to dive into details, but picturing a black hole, really? Because we made a collaboration out of hundreds of telescopes over a year. You can learn any language with Duolingo because of the crowdsourcing of these language models. So crowdsourcing, crowd is solving ways so many problems in the road. So try to perceive your world as a collaboration and not as an individual. And it's really hard for this generation that has been bred and born into this digital future with a social network where they have to be someone. They have to be individuals. Collaborate together. Mankind is never as strong as when it's doing this, putting several brains around the same problem and tackling it. And especially if we are empowered with those super powerful tools like that. So seek to work with the others, understand the other, exchange with the other. The other is a friend, the other is the one that will make you progress in life. And crowd, gather around the problem and solve it and tackle it. If you want to send a rocket to the moon, you will never, ever be able to solve it alone. This is the definition of a complex problem. A complex problem requires a collaboration, where a complicated one like gravity can be solved by one person. We are solving complex problems nowadays, so collaboration is key.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Breaking into Cybersecurity and sharing your perspectives.
My pleasure, Christophe.